Coming to you live from the windy and beginning to be icy radioactive wasteland. We are the survivors of the alt-right apocalypse. The few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the froggy lobster zombie whiny hordes with men are just too afraid to approach us. No, they want us. Men want us, but they're too afraid to approach us. And that's not cope, folks. Rantzerker number 186.
Yep.
I am your host.
That's correct.
Allison. Yes, I did it. I got the number. This is Allison, your host, and with me is Brian.
Yes.
And Karen.
Yes, I couldn't Oh, stop! It's a little kid.
And also Karen's dog.
Yeah. Shut up, Borat, you retard. Anyway,
that was Borat.
Well, that one was Borat. They were just going nuts because, yeah, the mailman came up the walk and put something in the mailbox, and they had to make sure that, he knew he was not welcome, and then like as he turns around and goes back down the front walk, they're like, "And stay out," and then they turn around and look all proud, like they chased him away or something, like he was coming in.
Well, you never know.
It's the same freaking mailman every time. Yeah, I guess you never suspect the mailman.
You never suspect, but the dogs do. The dogs do.
Oh,
they're absolutely certain that the mailmen are the fifth column.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I was so lucky because, like, for 4 months last summer, we had like construction crew in front of the house working on the roads and putting in new sidewalks and everything. And she was just like, "Oh, they're wearing orange vests and hard hats. Okay, I'm used to these guys now. They're my peeps." Right? And she'd just lie there and watch them. It was like TV for her. But yeah, then someone walked by with a baby stroller and she'd just fucking lose her mind.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's been several years now, and my German Shepherd Scipio still considers the neighbors' kids to be interlopers of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're slowly getting it to him that they're allowed to be there.
The public sidewalk is actually public.
Actually public. They people can walk on that sidewalk. That is not your sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
okay.
All right.
We have something lovely.
Oh, do you have to?
Oh yes, I'll do the things before we'll introduce.
Do the things. Let me put her up on the screen there. Okay, go ahead. Woo! Oops. I gotta.
Yes, we're going to do Lauren Chen today.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So I will do the things. I am doing some canvassing for the next stage of editing of my story, and I might have to do some arm twisting because it hasn't really moved since I announced this on Monday. So if you would like to help me out, make sure that we can finish up I can finish up the editing of my story or go on to the next stage, which would be formatting and getting a cover and all that. Please go to feedthebadger.com/support and pledge some amount for that. Any amount really helps. Like $5-10 is great. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/support. Only a few days left to this leg of the fundraiser. So if you can help out, that's greatly appreciated. And yeah, I might do some arm twisting today if nobody puts anything in. And also, if you want to send us a message, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We will get the full benefit of whatever funds you send, and you get the full benefit of avoiding YouTube's minefield of censorship. I think that we should probably just relax and just leave the current topic of war. Just stay away from it.
Yeah,
for now.
We could stay away from
the
looming.
That's not really our purview.
Sword of Damocles.
And it seems like it is absolutely heated, shall we say? And let's not get into that.
There are strong opinions abound.
There are unsolicited.
Yes, unsolicited. That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Shall we?
Yeah. So feedthebadger.com, etc. I'm looking at the Super Chow channel. Give Badger Chan a treat, and we will endeavor to get into the. Oh, and shout out to the Rumble gang. If you guys are watching, follow us on Rumble at HB Radio. Give us a follow there. Appreciate it so much. Okay. So this is okay. So I don't know, Allison, did you watch this at all? This video? Let me share the screen with you guys.
I've been.
Oh, actually, I think I did. Yeah, you guys should be able to look at it. So
yeah,
it's actually related to the Twitter discussion you had with that guy. That was like a dating coach guy or something. So Lauren Chen is actually reporting on that and giving her thoughts. Yep.
On what he had to say, or actually acknowledging anything I had?
No. I assume that I guess this guy's tweets went, around the block. So
of course they did, because they blame men.
Yeah. So perhaps, I mean, there was probably sighs of relief from women everywhere that they don't have to do anything, and like they're doing everything just fine. So, but let's get into it. I think we should try to be fair to Lauren, because I think she is trying to be like sensitive to men that are struggling, but there are definitely some blind spots in her logic. And I have had Lauren Chen on the show. It was years ago when she was still roaming millennial, but I did have her on the show once before. So she's okay. I'll just say that. She's okay. All right. So let's make sure that you guys can hear this. I'm going to play a little bit, and I'm going to check the sound.
So we have this really interesting thread by an account that I follow. He's at DatePsych on X, and his bio reads, quote, research interests in attractiveness and dating. So I definitely want to give him credit for the data we're going to be going over and the thread that he posted about all of this. I've been following him for a little bit, and the other day he put out this tweet that really caught my attention. It says, why are so many young men single? Are they excluded from a brutal mating market by society? Probably not. 45% of men age 18 to 25 have never approached a woman in person.
All right, pausing it there in case you guys want to say anything to that, but also because it's been 30 seconds. So
okay, well, first of all, what is his data from? Because I asked him for a citation, he never gave one. I'm pretty sure this is I don't know where he's getting this data.
A zombie statistic? No, it sounds well, kind of.
It sounds
plausible.
This statistic sounds plausible, because we know now that something like 60% of men, or at least single men, no longer are approaching women for anything, and that actually means anything. That is like even approaching them for the time, approaching them to find directions to the bathroom or to the gas station, nothing.
Yeah.
And imagine that the number that aren't approaching women just
for dating, yeah. No,
for
and
dating.
It's like, well, and here's the thing too, right? Like approaching women. This is like, you know what a cold call is? Like even high pressure sales jobs, right? That in-home demonstrations and stuff like that, right? You don't just go knocking on doors, right? You have telemarketers basically cold calling people, right? To see if they'd be interested in your product, and then you go to their house to demonstrate it and see if they want to buy it, right? And like I did this for like, I don't know, a week and a half, and it gave me ulcers, because it's so stressful trying to convince people to buy something that, yes, it's useful, but nobody really needs it, right? And you're making $100 per sale, but it's like, that means that, and the company is making $100 per sale, and these people are paying $300 per sale. Like the sales office is making $100, you're making $100, and the manufacturer's making is collecting $100, and I'm just like, like, so what you're saying is you could probably sell this in a hardware store for like $100.
Yeah, and consider that is like with with a telemarketer. I mean, we can get into more about this, but that's with a telemarketer sort of easing the way in, right?
Yeah, that's like the blind date, can I set you up with my friend kind of situation, right?
And what
as opposed to just approaching some woman in public. Right?
And the thing is that the telemarketer in the men's approach scenario has already called the women and said, men are so abusive and toxic, and a relationship with one is going to be absolutely exploitative of you. So you should really avoid that unless you can get the best deal possible. And now you approach.
Kevin, get out of the toilet.
You approach when your telemarketer has told the person you're approaching that you're a cheat and a swindler, and that you are anything you give is going to be a faulty, useless product. That'll end up being more. Then you try your cold call.
Yeah, then you go knock on the door.
Because that's what we're asking men to do.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's not this statistic that I had an issue with. There's other stuff that sort of suggests that it's true. It's the next stuff that he talks about.
Okay. Well, let's see what he says.
Now we're going to be going into what these numbers mean a little bit more, but I personally was really surprised to hear this because, we often hear about incels and just single, lonely young men, and I apparently wrongly had just assumed that for a lot of these men, they were single and demoralized because they were constantly being rejected. But according to this data, it seems like a lot of the young men who are, quote, black-pilled out there or who maybe describe themselves as incels, it's not necessarily that they've been rejected a bunch, it's just that they've never actually bothered to approach a woman because they are so afraid that they would be rejected.
Lady, sorry, Lauren. They're pre-rejected. Okay. Like, what do you think is going to happen to people if you're constantly maligning their worth as a sex, their gender identity worth? You're constantly talking about them as abusive and toxic and a detriment to anyone they get into a relationship with. Like, they're pre-rejected before they even walk up to a woman. Like, I don't understand why they don't say this.
Sorry.
I don't understand why these commentators don't say that.
Yeah, I know. It's really infuriating. Can you guys stop? It's infuriating because not only is it, like, it's not just fear of being rejected by one woman for one thing. Right? There's also fear of humiliation, right? Like she's not just going to say, oh, no, thank you. She's going to be like, as if loser, right? In front of everybody, right? And then there's also a certain amount of fear in success, right? There's a certain amount of fear in, okay, so there's a date. Well, are you employed? Do you make enough money? Is she going to expect you to take her someplace nice? Is she going to expect you to pay? Is she going to expect you to, treat her really great? What happens if you actually...
This particular woman.
Yeah, and what happens if you actually end up, like, dating her, going out with her, on the regular? What happens then? And what are all the pitfalls, all of the chasms that will open up right in front of your feet as you're navigating through trying to build a relationship with her? How horrific is the end going to be? How devastating to your life is the 50% chance that she decides to, like, you're not good enough and finds someone else or goes off on her own? How bad is that going to ruin you, right? It's not just the approaching the woman and fearing being rejected. It's fearing being publicly humiliated intentionally by that rejection. It's also fearing success, right?
Yep.
Because it's like it's shitty to be lonely, but you know what? It's shitty to be economically, like, financially devastated or falsely accused and lonely, right? Yeah. So it's just like, no, I think that a lot of young men are, it's not even that the fear of the initial no, It's also the fear of a yes, and then another yes, and then another yes, and then boom, right? Then
Yep.
she's texting you and telling you that, yeah, I'm gonna need you to move out, right? Someone's gonna do
Yeah,
to
I
them
need space.
like my husband's ex did to him, right? And oh, and by the way, you can't see your kid, right? Like, because
Yeah.
I don't need a babysitter. I've got a new man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I got a super chow, which I appreciate. Thank you so much. And this is from Rorschach's No for $10. Thank you. And he says, Am I first? Just wanted to say hi. I need to write down some of my comments because often I have thoughts after the live show. So I end up rambling to myself. Roommates may think I'm responding to someone at the other end of my earpiece. Thank you, Rorschach's No, for the hi. It sounds like you're rambling. But we'll take it.
think your thoughts and then send them and we will read them.
Yeah.
Woo! Okay.
All right, that's it.
But like I was saying, I mean, men are already pre-rejected before they even go up to a woman. I mean, how many times do they have to hear about how they need to take responsibility for domestic violence in relationships and sexual assault and all the horrible things that women experience when a strange man goes up and talks to them?
oh yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just why is it that these individuals just can't see that?
Well, and and it's interesting too, because people didn't used to just go up to strangers. Like, people, this whole idea of sort of the nightclub or the lounge or whatever, you're out for the evening and you pick someone up, right? That's relatively new. Up until the sexual revolution, how did most people who got married meet? They met at work, they met at school, they met through their parents, they met through mutual friends, right?
In some communities,
who could vet them. They met through church.
They would meet through parties specifically designed for this.
Yeah,
Like,
and
the community would put on dances. They would put on
the Sadie whatever dances.
Yes, they would. And
Sadie Hawkins.
That's all the way back to like Roman times. They would would throw parties for people to meet.
The Sadie Hawkins dances, if I recall, because this isn't a Canadian thing, it's a US thing. And so, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong. Right, the Sadie Hawkins dance, the girls all stand on one side of the hall, the boys all stand on the other side of the hall, and the girls have to go ask the boys to dance.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right. I'll look it up.
Which is a wonderful tradition.
It is.
Because
it is.
Because it puts girls in young men's shoes. They get to walk a mile in his shoes for a change.
Yeah.
And maybe be nervous, maybe be scared of rejection, maybe have a real hard time if he is polite enough to accept the invitation to dance, but you can tell, right? And everybody else can tell that he's not into you, right? All of those things. So it's a really wonderful tradition, because it does kind of foster empathy on the part of women for what young men have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's like people, once they decided that the workplace was not a place where you could meet a partner, that eliminated 50% of the couple formation opportunities.
And the other thing is that the atmosphere now has changed.
Yeah.
Women, like, people aren't approachable in public anymore. You're not just sitting at a bus station looking bored. You have your head down over your phone.
Yeah.
Your earbuds in. How the hell do you approach someone like that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's I mean, he has some statistics I think they go further into it. I mean,
yeah, she does go into more of the data. So all right, let's keep going.
Rejected, which, don't get me wrong, is also a problem, something that we should address. And I'm not bringing any of this to shame anyone, because I know rejection can be scary and dating in general can be really intimidating. But men being too afraid of rejection to even approach a woman is a very different problem to try to solve than men constantly being rejected by women. But let's get to—
well, yeah, but you're failing to realize that, okay, maybe the woman is,
it's not just the risk of rejection, though. I mean, like what we said, you know.
Maybe the woman, you know, it's not just the woman, like you were saying, Brian, but just imagine, you know, she's sitting in a bus station and every ad is a finger pointed at that man saying, "You're not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
You're a scam.
Only you can stop workplace harassment. Only you can stop, you know, sexual harassment. Only you can stop domestic violence.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
Yeah,
don't be that guy.
Yeah, you remember that thing that was recent was called Mate? Do you remember that? Does anybody remember that?
Did all of this just leave? Like, if she has been part of this, did she forget all of this?
No, I think that Lauren Chen is like one of the, she wasn't really around this stuff because of like the circles she travels in. So this is not where most people are. Here's a good so one of the other things we almost responded to was this movie trailer called Cat Person. I want to show you a little bit of this. And I want to get, so Cat Person is, I watched the trailer and it's basically about, it's an indie film about a young woman who meets a man and likes him, and he's, you know, there's a big age difference and everything seems fine, but, you know, as it goes on, the man becomes more and more of a threat to her. So it's one of these movies that starts off like, and it seems like it's going to be okay, and then of course things get crazy. But I want to show like the end of this, like there's like the kind of tagline. I think it's like, men fear rejection, women are afraid of what men will do. Yeah, so here, I'll play it from here so you guys can see, because this is important. This is the propaganda that we're bombarded with like all the time. This is the stuff that women respond to. And when you look at the comments under this trailer, you'll see it. You'll be like, oh yeah, this is my experience. This is my experience. So like, what does a regular guy that's looking to date someone, what's he gonna take away from that? So let me play this bit.
Didn't you?
Yeah.
What women will say.
So what was his go-to move? The reverse squatting cowgirl? Were his cats at least cute? I never saw them. Uh-oh.
Women are afraid.
Why lie about having cats? Because liking cats makes a guy seem non-threatening.
What men might do.
He's hiding something.
So you see that that's like, yeah, this is men. Like that's what this does.
She doesn't realize that. Like,
no, she doesn't. She sees it. She probably sees it and says, "Oh, well, there's no way that women feel this way." Yes, Lauren. A lot of women, if not most women, will watch that and say that's real. You know, like,
it doesn't even matter what women think.
I know, but it's going to affect. It's going to affect how men think of themselves too, or other men. Yeah.
So remember the Gillette commercial? Oh, no good, bro. All he was doing was going up to a woman to talk to her. Oh, no, that's not cool. That's not cool, bro. That's not cool. Like, did all of everything that happened in the last, like, 2 decades just not happen? Was it a fever dream? Like, where are all the podiums that tell men, oh, a joke is harassment, flirting is harassment, looking at her is harassment, asking her the time is harassment, being within 2 feet of her is harassment, you know, like saying hi is harassment. Like, did you not see those podiums?
No, and just the contradictory rules on college campuses where, you know, you have to ask at every stage of escalation of any kind of romantic encounter, you know, permission, right? So can I hold your hand? Can I kiss you? Blah, 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 right? But then in order to stay on the good side of the sexual assault policy and ask permission, you are in violation of the sexual harassment policy, because just the mere act of asking once and taking her, even if you take her no for an answer the very first time, right, that is still harassment, right? And it's just like, what are men supposed to do? What are they supposed to do, right? Because avoiding a sexual assault charge will get you a sexual harassment charge on some campuses. That's just the way it is. And, and the whole thing depends on mind reading. Is she going to, how is she going to respond to my approach? How is she going to? Predictability, right? Like clairvoyance and mind reading. Is she into me? You have to know that. You have to know that. And you also have to know that even though she thinks that maybe you're kind of cute, right? When you open your mouth and sound like an autist or something, right? Is that going to put her off? And is she going to go like pepper spraying you or some shit and saying that you're attacking her? Like, who the fuck knows these days with these women? Because they've all been steeped in this culture of like, life is so dangerous for you because you're a woman and because you have to spend time in the same physical space as men, or the same internet space as men, right? The same electronic, digital space as men, right? Men are a danger to you no matter how they interact with you. That is the message that women are getting, right? And then these pickup artists are like, well, I'm good looking enough and charming enough that I can like approach women at a bus stop at 1 a.m. and they never scream, right? And it's just like, yeah, okay, that's not all guys.
Yeah,
right?
like you're not putting 2 and 2 together then. Like you don't realize that, even if you're like that's what this guy, what's his name? The guy that you ended up responding to that Lauren is talking about? Date psych. That's what he doesn't seem to get. Like he'll be like, well, I don't have a problem attracting women. Yeah, well, you're not the average guy, and it doesn't really matter. Like at the end of the day, the main problem is that whether or not whatever the outcome is, it's completely up to her, and it's just whatever she feels in the moment. And if women are on SSRIs and birth control, and who knows where their brain is at when a man approach, what is like seriously, like there's too many other things to take into consideration here.
Yeah. And if you're not Chris Hemsworth, right? Like, why would you even try? Because you already have basically looked at the dating market, right? So if you didn't meet your sweetheart in high school, right? And, through mutual friends and stuff. And so like everybody's vetted, everybody's like, and she feels safe around you because her friends like you. And, you got lots of people around you who think you're a good guy and all of this, right? Vetting is really important, right? Mm-hmm. Going up to a single woman sitting at a bus stop or into a group of women at a nightclub or at a Christmas party or something like that, right? And striking up a conversation that feels in any way like there might be some kind of opportunity in there for, romantic engagement or sexual engagement, right? You're taking your job in your hands. You're looking at getting arrested or assaulted or being told off by, the woman in public, right? No, because these women, these bitches are so fucking on edge, right? They're so on edge because they've been fed a steady bombardment of fear porn. One movie, right? One movie is not the problem.
No.
The problem is
all of them.
This is the overarching narrative. This is not about the movie. The movie is just a reflection of the cultural narrative.
Yeah, but just imagine. Like what she's saying is, men, the only problem is that men are afraid to approach, and they're not even approaching. They're afraid of rejection. I thought it was because of a result of all of this rejection that men feel. Lady, don't just look at the woman at the bus station. Look at all the ads for all of the movies just like that one. Mm-hmm. And again, all of the posters for Don't Be That Guy. All of the podiums saying everything that you could possibly do to a strange woman is sexual harassment. It's not just that these guys have actually experienced endless progressive rejection before they even walk up to their first woman to be rejected by. They've had their sexuality rejected. They've had their desires rejected. They've had their desires cheapened as being purely sexual. Well, I mean, I don't even want to say cheapened, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, and they've been presented and framed as sexual abusers right out of the gate. They've been rejected every step of the way. So when you say, oh, well, men haven't been rejected until... No, the rejection starts well before a woman says no.
Well, the rejection starts before a boy even thinks to ask, right? Yes. It starts before he's even like hit puberty and starts becoming, you know, sexually aroused around women. So, I mean, you're looking at a situation where you've basically, I mean, don't bombard men and women with anti-male propaganda and then wonder why men have internalized it.
Yep.
Yeah, you can only condemn men for being cowards if they lived in a world where they don't have to bear this burden of complete rejection before they even walk up to another person. Anyway, let's keep going.
All right, I got another super chow from Zapier. Thank you for $20. Thank you. And he says, even before learning about men's rights, I've only heard 3 things from general culture about dating. 1, it's going to be super hard. 2, it's a miracle if you succeed, and you can expect it to fail someday. Just cross your fingers. It's not an explosive end. And 3, we're not lifting a finger to help you. I don't understand why I should bother trying.
Lifting a finger to help? Are you kidding? The general society is putting... He's putting 3 tons of weight on you.
Yeah, it's thumb and several jackboots on top of men's necks.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and
like
all
this...
they have to do is stop this relentless badgering.
No, not badgering. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah, relentless weasel...
haranguing.
Haranguing.
Harping.
Harangatanging.
Like harpies.
Harping.
Nagging.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's play some more, Lauren.
Get to what this data actually says. So it's explained here with these charts that, quote, a sizable minority of men are not approaching women at all. In the entire data set, 29% of men said they never approached a woman in person before. 27% said it had been more than 1 year. This was larger for men in the age 18 to 25 group. 45% had never approached a woman in person. So you guys, you heard that right. For men ages 18 to 25 who should in theory be in their prime years for dating, you know, getting out there, meeting different people, almost 1/2 of them have never even approached a woman.
Pausing it there for the banana. There's like another, she does like an ad, so I'm gonna skip that part.
Okay.
I will say...
What's an ad for?
What's
an ad for?
Temu. It's like the most annoying internet ad ever right now. It's kind of like Wish. I think Wish closed down and they rebranded as Temu. It's a Chinese thing.
Wish?
Temu. Not worth it. Like, it's garbage.
Okay.
Okay, but go ahead, Karen.
Well, I was just gonna. Before we got on to the Temu thing, when you're looking at these days, right? You know, these days, and you know, ooh, they haven't approached a woman in person, right? Well, I didn't approach my husband in person. I didn't approach any of the men I dated after I split with my ex in person, because I was doing online dating. Right?
Yeah.
And, you know, but unlike most women, I was like wide open to a whole bunch of different men, right? Like varying heights and income levels and occupations and all of this and hobbies and, you know, likes and dislikes and the whole bit. And, you know, physical appearances and ages and all of that. Because it's like, okay, but so you have men who they're eschewing the in-person thing, maybe because they're shy, maybe because they don't have time, maybe because, you know, who the hell knows. So they're going online to do the dating, and it's just swipe left, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left from women. Right? They're not getting any hits on their profiles.
Yeah, that's true. Like if they're doing the online dating thing, then there's no approaching that really happens. Really, they're just hoping for a match.
Yeah, and if you're doing online dating, right, and you're you on a site that kind of matches people up, oh, you'd be compatible, or you might be compatible with this person, right? Mm-hmm. And nobody's ever freaking messaging you, right? Or you're sending a message and you don't hear back because she's just inundated. Like it's like it's incredibly demoralizing for men to, and you might be able to, maybe you might be able to charm someone in the meat space, right? No pun intended in my use of the word meat. But you might be able to charm a woman in real life. But why would you do that when even online, even on dating apps, you're just experiencing constant rejection, and it's just like, or just indifference, just complete indifference. So it's like, I don't know. Like this is not about men fearing being told no. This is about the 80-20 rule, and everybody kind of knows it. Everybody knows what's going on. You're just not allowed to say it because then the jig is up for women.
Yep. Okay, shall I keep going? Yeah, let's keep going.
For sponsoring this video. Okay, so apparently we have learned that almost 1 in 2 young men are not approaching women. Well, that begs the question of why? Why is that? And if you're someone from the red pill community or who has inclinations toward that type of thinking, your response is probably going to be, well, because it just doesn't make sense for a man to try that. There are all these legal ramifications for things like divorce, or heck, even things like Me Too, where, a allegation could ruin someone's life regardless of how flimsy it is. So yeah, maybe men aren't approaching women anymore because they just don't think it's worth it because society is increasingly anti-male. And don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Do you remember that picture? The picture for was it the Expos or something? And like he had lost his job. He had to go like play for Japan because a woman accused him of.
Oh yeah. I thought you meant picture.
No, the baseball pitcher.
Bauer.
Yeah.
And he $51 million. She's like, I want that bag.
Mm-hmm.
I want that bag, and all I got to do is get him to choke me out.
And those are the a guy like that doesn't really have to fear rejection. I mean, he can have whatever woman he wants.
Does anyone remember Jaromir Jagr? Right? He's a hockey player, right?
Oh, okay.
And he's one of the oldest players in the league, still like high performer, or was. But he went to, oh God, I forget where he's from, like Czech Republic or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. So he's in Eastern Europe, and some woman, he has sex with some woman.
Yeah.
And she takes a picture of them naked in bed together while he's sleeping. And then she says, if you don't pay me $50,000, I will upload this to the internet. And he's like, bitch, I'm not married. Go ahead. Here, let me do it for you, right? and I was just like, good on him. Right. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at, like, because he's still, as far as I know, he's still a bachelor, right? And he gets lucky with the ladies, still a bachelor, and one of the top players in the NHL for quite some time, and he was just like, bitch, please, right? Give me a break. Can I upload it so I can have bragging rights or what? Look, your titties are out.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to the point of this.
All right. We'll keep going.
You're wrong. Even though I don't subscribe to the red pill view of the world or consider myself part of that community because I think it's frankly anti-Christian and anti-family at its core, I do agree that society is very gynos.
Stop. Pointing out how things are harming men is anti-family and anti-Christian.
Well, no, I think she's conflating red pill community with pickup artists, and
No,
like
with the recognition that things harm men, like these false accusations and etc.
Yeah, I know, but she's also conflating the red pill community with, and a lot of people think that the red pill community is Roosh V before his like big epiphany, wherein he realized that traditionalism, might be the better way to go. Like Roosh V when he was still writing books like Bang Denmark and Bang Sweden and Bang Germany and Bang Ukraine. Like the red pill community, at least the last I checked, which was it was years ago, that I went on Are the Red Pill on Reddit, and I'm reading the posts and everything, and yeah, there is a lot of pickup artist stuff there, like how to approach women, how to improve yourself in your life, a lot of Andrew Tate kind of stuff, right? But there's also like a heavily pro-nuclear family, pro-tradition bent to all of it.
Yeah.
And it is kind of like, they're like, well, in the absence of women's cooperation with a traditionalist monogamous way of life, nuclear family. Okay, can you stop? Nuclear family kind of way of doing things. In the absence of that, right? Then you have this stopgap measure that will at least let you get your dick wet, and you'll probably, if you're attractive to women, okay, if you make yourself attractive to women, you make yourself attractive to everybody, to employers, right? To other, male friends, to acquaintances who can help you out, right? Because being a man who's attractive to women means you're attractive to everybody. Everybody wants to be around, right? So it's like, so even if you don't go out and get laid 3 times a week, cold approaching women in nightclubs, even if you don't want to be an Andrew Tate, and run a cam girl business out of Romania, right? Anything that you do to make yourself more attractive to a woman is going to make you more successful in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, maybe women will come around. Maybe they will snap out of it. And then you can get married and start a family and maybe not have, or maybe the laws will change, all of these things. And it will be okay to settle down with one woman.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and I, like when I spoke with Roosh, he gave me the impression that that's really what he wants, is like a long-term monogamous relationship. He seemed very kind of jaded by the whole bang everyone phase of his life. So.
All right, let's get to the actual, when are they actually going to put up something worth responding to?
All right, we'll keep going.
Centric currently, and men have a lot to lose if they try to hook up with or even marry the wrong woman. But according to the data, and here we have something else that's pretty shocking, no, those reasons do not.
For a second.
What?
Do you have a means by which men can, without any inaccuracy, find the right woman? Because just telling men, oh, you found the wrong woman, doesn't help. And here's one of the problems. It's not the wrong woman. It's the wrong system.
Yep.
And I'll tell you why. Human nature. Okay, let's take out the outliers. Like the women who have such a strong internal standard of loyalty and a sense of uprightness and fair dealing. Let's just take out the moral outliers, like the top 5% of women morally, right? Everyone below that, okay, and let's say not too low below the average morality. Everyone below that who doesn't have that strong internal moral locus is going to be as good as the standard she's held to. And there is no standard.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. The system itself creates women who are not loyal, and the reason why is because it's moving against human nature. And I'm not even talking about pair bonding. I'm talking about the process of talking yourself out of a decision. Okay? They found that if you choose something, in this case, it was, they had these people make photographs, and then they said, okay, you can only have one. They said to half of the people who had like 10 photos, you can only pick the best photo that you liked. Okay. And that's it. Then you go home and it's done. And then they said to the other group, well, you pick whatever you think is the best. And in a week, we will follow up with you and we'll give you a different one if you want it. Right? The way people who had to stick with their decision because they didn't get do-overs, when they asked them like a couple months later how much they liked their picture, it was several times higher than the people who got a chance to choose another one.
Yeah, no, it's like basically you once you give people
options.
If people know that they have options,
FOMO starts to kick in. And then they just, so a man in one system where a woman's like, well, this is the one I got, she is going to be happier with that man than she is in a system where she gets to exchange men for as long as she wants, or as many times as she wants. And
for not just little or no cost to herself, like often profiting from the transaction.
So the system itself creates discontent in women.
Yes.
So not only are the average woman who does not have an internal moral locus, like this is rare. It's rare among men, but men are held to standards. Right? Mm-hmm. Even in the word man, to be a real man, you have to sacrifice for others. You have to put others first. There's no such thing as a real woman in the same way, because there's no real external standard for women. And it's not even when they're mothers anymore.
Yep.
Oh, so, not even when they, you don't even have to have a uterus or a vagina or ovaries or
there's no
X chromosomes anymore.
No.
Yeah, there's no. And I'm not even going to go down there because I don't give it as much of a care about the physical standard. I'm talking about the moral standard. The average woman will only be as good as the moral standard she's held to externally, because an internal locus and internal moral standards, you're talking about the Mother Teresa's and the Joan of Arc's of history. They're rare. Yeah. You know, you're not going to find a lot of them. Everybody else is pretty much as good as the external standard they're held to a degree. I mean, usually they can handle a little bit outside of that, stepping up. But and it's why you see these situations in human history where masses of people just end up doing something horrific. Well, it's because everybody else is doing it, so I'll just shove a few in an oven, you know? Like, it just makes sense, right? Because everybody's doing it, because that's the external standard. And you think that you can see throughout history that when people are taken off of external standards or put to external standards that are horrifying and they still follow along, that's what they do. And you can't see that when you take women off of any external standard, they're not going to be very good, you know? Like, you're not going to judge them by their behavior to men. You're only ever going to say, well, if you don't behave correctly towards a man, it's the man's fault, right? Okay, so the system, it's not that there are no good women, it's the system is no good.
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't encourage goodness in women.
No, it incentivizes badness in women.
And honestly, if you're going to say, well, men should, they don't pick the wrong woman. What are you saying? 95% of women?
Yeah.
Like, and don't give me this shit about, you're just anti-woman. If you have a nasty external standard, Most people will live up to that only up to that nasty external standard. You tell me the external standard that women are held to when it comes to their behavior towards men. You tell me that. They're only going to be as good as that. And you can't tell me that people aren't influenced very, very much by the external standards they're held to, or the external standard that the society embraces. Okay.
All right.
It really annoys me, this whole, oh, you just picked a bad woman. No, he picked a bad system.
Yeah.
And he didn't pick it. He was born into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Top the list of why men are not approaching women. You see, here we have another graph that breaks down the data. And while we can see that around 25% of those who describe themselves as black pill, yes, do not approach women because of a fear of legal consequences, for the overall population, that number is way, way lower at only around 10%. Instead, we see bigger contributing factors for both black pilled and all men include things like not being attracted.
Stop there for a second?
Yeah, let's look at the chart. That's fine.
Okay, so black pill men fear rejection. Maybe they have internalized more of the social attitude towards masculinity in men. They fear legal consequences. And they don't fear social consequences as much as blue-pilled guys, or what they'd consider blue-pilled. And blue-pilled guys are less likely to be attracted to women. Isn't that interesting? So the blue-pilled guys are more fearful of social consequences and feel less attracted to women. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's because I think the black pill guys, they're already aware of the social consequences, so maybe it doesn't affect them as much. But I mean, what's fear rejection? Like, what is it?
What does that mean?
What does that really mean?
I did my own you know what? I'm honestly, this is probably just a Twitter survey that he did.
It's possible.
Yeah, again, he never gave me an answer to where
he made a bunch of charts out of it, but that doesn't make it at all academic.
Well, maybe he did like one of those survey
maybe.
websites.
I mean, I get the sense that he just wanted to blame men for not stepping up, and that was like what he wanted to conclude. That's what I think.
But here's the thing. Also, blue pill men, that's the biggest fear, is rejection as well. It may be that black pill men fear rejection more for whatever reason, whatever rejection means. But anyway, I did a Twitter poll and I asked, okay, so why do you not want to approach? And the biggest reason was false accusation in my Twitter poll, followed by men who said they don't feel like they're attractive enough.
Well, those two are kind of intimately tied together, aren't they?
Well, I mean,
because the difference between a hunk and a creep approaching you is basically just
how good looking you are, how attractive she finds you.
How attractive she finds you. Oh my fucking god, Dr. Zoidberg, shut up.
How attractive she finds you.
Yeah, and that means you need to be a mind reader.
Well, I think there's also something to be said for guys who are just I don't think I'm attractive enough for a cold approach in public, period. I even if I wasn't afraid of a false accusation, I just don't approach people because the thing is that the question is, why are you not approaching women? And some said false accusation, some said a lesser number said they didn't feel like, but this was the second highest, that they didn't feel like they were attractive. If they feared a false accusation because they felt like they were unattractive, I assume that they would choose false accusation rather than I feel like I'm not attractive enough. And then after that was
were they allowed to choose both, or just
no?
One
because
or
it's
the
a
other?
Twitter poll. You only allow 4 options.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the thing, right? The fear of not being attractive enough is, maybe they
self-selected out because they felt like they weren't attractive enough. And then there was another category where I asked if you're afraid of, the fact that people have been telling men that you're going to be creating an uncomfortable experience for a woman. That was the smallest category, but there was still a number of men who chose it. There are men out there who don't approach women because they've told that makes the women feel uncomfortable. Period. And that none of that is in here. This is like it doesn't include all of the pro-social answers, which would be, I've self-selected out because I've been told that this makes women uncomfortable, so I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
the methodology seems to be missing stuff.
Yes.
That would be really useful.
That would be really useful. Like to really tease out where this fear is coming from. But the problem is this guy thinks that the fear is illegitimate.
Yeah.
But anyway, we can keep going.
All right, let's keep going.
To anyone, which, okay, that's a pretty good reason to not approach someone. Also the amorphous other, but then higher up there is a fear of social consequences. Now, I suppose social consequences for approaching a woman could include things like, being labeled creepy or even a harasser. So, I mean, that's fair enough. That's definitely a realm where we can talk about how the Me Too movement may have been overzealous in its execution.
Literally, their big freaking victim now is a guy who was himself a victim, and they are treating him worse than any of.
Are you talking about Lawrence Fox?
Johnny Depp, actually.
Oh, well, Johnny Depp, yeah, for sure. But also, like Lawrence Fox for insulting a woman, and like there was another thing. Marilyn Manson is being sort of dragged through the courts right now. That picture I talked about. There's countless stories. But go ahead.
But my point is that Johnny Depp has basically proven that he was the victim.
Yeah. And
he is hated more than anyone. Don't give me this shit about, maybe Me Too went too far. It was otherwise good, but maybe a step too far. This is your fallout. Men don't want to approach. Of course, we're just going to shame men. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let me see. Oh yeah, this is okay.
Still, what's really interesting is that the number one reason for both all men and even black-pilled men for not approaching a woman is fear of rejection. What's crazy is that it seems the black-pilled men are even more likely to say they don't approach women because of a fear of rejection than men in general. Now, like I said, dating is scary and dating is hard. Nobody likes to be rejected, but at the same time,
you know what dating is.
Yeah, she's married with like children, so.
Yeah, but she doesn't know what dating is for men.
Yeah, she definitely doesn't know what it is for men.
She's a stunningly gorgeous young woman, right? And that is, and here's the thing too, right? When you actually look at attractiveness, right? Sort of in the universal categories that men generally find these things attractive in women, and women generally find these things attractive in men, right? Universal across cultures, blah, 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 right? Women cluster around the average like they do on almost all the different sex-based distribution curves. And men, there are more outliers. There are more below average and above average. So there are more Steve Buscemi's and than Throw Mama from the Train ladies. And there are more Chris Hemsworths than what's her name, Angelina Jolie, than her, but that middle ground of acceptability, there are just fewer. There are more unattractive men than there are unattractive women. That's just how it is, because the average is the curve. The distribution curve is different, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at, women are actually having to maybe look at themselves in the mirror and say, well, for physical attractiveness, I have to consider, I'm a 7. Okay. I have to consider 6s. But women aren't willing to do that. They're all going for the 8 through 10s.
No, they're going through for the 10s. A lot of them are just going for the 10s because they've been told that they're a 10, And so they're going to try and get what they think they're worth. So, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to get 11s.
Oh man, like my husband works with a woman who's like in the process of pricing herself out of the dating market at the worst possible time. Right? She's got baby rabies. She's not with a man. She wants to have a baby. She doesn't want to raise it alone. She wants to be married and have a partner to, you know, have a family. And the clock is ticking. And she's like looking for a promotion, and it's like, what are you doing? You make enough money where you are right now, okay? And you are about to hit the wall, and it's not even just a matter of, you know, that, oh, maybe she's not as physically attractive now that she's in her 30s or whatever, right? That's not it. Not with her anyway. She's got a gorgeous figure. She's got a nice face. She's, you know, all of those things, right? She's pretty. She's solid, right? In terms of her attractiveness.
She's a brick house.
Anyway,
to my chair, letting it all hang out.
She's not a brick house, but she's very attractive. She's a very attractive woman. She's pretty. She's nice. She's all of those things. She even likes doing guy stuff, right? You know, like the kind of stuff that guys like hiking and camping and freaking physical activity, and you know, or that a lot of guys like, right? And so you're looking at it, but she's in a rush now, right? So she's like basically in this process of meeting someone, right? She didn't meet anyone in her 20s. She was too busy with her career, right? So now she needs to meet someone, and she needs to lock that in ASAP, right? Because her eggs are getting stale. She's got baby rabies, right? Well, what man wants to agree to start a family 6 months after meeting you? Right? Like, what man wants to be rushed like that?
Right.
Yeah, and especially if you have higher status in your career, in your job title, maybe not in your income, but your job title, than he does. Right? It's like he's going to be constantly thinking, well, she's going to take the next better offer that comes her way, right? So, I mean, like, you're looking at, like, leaving it so long, leaving it until you're in your 30s to even start thinking about finding a partner is the worst advice. You know, like, everybody says, oh, it's sexist to say an MRS degree, right? You know, oh, she got her master's of Mrs., right? Her master's of housewifery. But okay, at least that makes sense. She went to college to put herself around men of similar intellect and interest, right? So that she could quit halfway through her freaking program, through her degree, and get married and have kids. Okay, that kind of makes sense, right? In biological terms. This whole idea that, okay, I'm gonna go to school, I'm going to focus on my career, and I'm going to, like, work my way up I'm going to climb the greasy pole, I'm going to work my way up the chain, right? And then I'm going to price myself out of the market for any man who would want me when I'm 32 or 33 or 35, right? And then I'm going to be like, well, why won't Annie be a baby? Yeah, because are you going to date a plumber?
You are at the last point of no return.
Yeah, and it's like, and women have been duped. They've been duped by this, and it's so sad.
Not really. I mean, this is their own making.
Oof.
Like, yeah, no, this is of your own making. You're just dumb, and you won't face your mortality. Just make your fucking choices and live by them. And yeah, women don't need to be told, oh, you're being duped. Well, you know what? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. I mean, she's been fooled to give up her 20s. Now she's fooling herself to give up her 30s.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, at this point, I'm thinking, like, she's going to have to go to the sperm bank, right? And just deal with being a single mother.
I wish men would not give sperm to sperm banks, because that is not like, I don't think that should be an option on the table for single women.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Get yourself a man and figure out what you need to do that, or embrace your childless lifestyle.
Okay, you know what? You know what I think too would really help, okay? If you actually presented it this way. You take your first 2 years of your degree, right? And during that time, you settle with the man who's in the similar program, who's in school, he's got a good potential, right? Okay, and you get with him and you marry him and you quit and you have your kids. And then when your kids are school age, right, you go back, you complete your degree, and then you have your career completely uninterrupted by babies. And yeah, you're not going to be at the same stage of your career. You're always going to have those missing years, right? But those missing years, at least you got kids in return for them. And also tell women, right? And this is the thing that made me decide that I was going to definitely have my kids in my 20s. Of course, didn't exactly work out because I had a surprise when I was 32, but I wanted to have my kids in my 20s because it's one thing to have a baby at 35. It's another thing to have a 15-year-old at 50.
Yeah.
You know, like, or a 15-year-old at 55 or 60, right? And do you really want to be in the sandwich generation where you're changing 2 sets of diapers, your mom's and your kids? Do you really want to be there?
Oh my God.
Is that really what you want to do?
My mother-in-law's cooking, I think. I smell something delicious.
Oh,
All
she
right.
sounds useful still.
Yeah. No, I like her.
Okay, let's get some more.
All right. Let's get some more in. You want to do any? It's been like an hour. Do you want to do some arm twisting? Or
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really not feeling the arm twisting.
All right. Well,
I will do another shout out. So guys, if you want to help me get this, let's just face it. The books that are out there now are atrocious. They're a nightmare. They're just adding to this anti-male sentiment. Honestly, like it's really, and I didn't set out to write a book that was pro-male or pro-relationships or anti this message of, oh, men are awful and being in a relationship with one is like the worst thing you could do. But I seem to have done so simply by being what I am. And if you would like to see more of that message get out anywhere, then please go to feedthebadger.com/support. I mean, if we don't support that kind of a message getting out in whatever way it can, I don't think anybody will. And then our society will implode. In like 50 years, people will look back and be like, well, what happened? Why did they just stop having babies? Why did they stop having relationships? And somebody needs to be there and say, well, you know what happened? Is that they just started to say to women that having a husband was being enslaved. And that men were toxic and worthless. And you don't need one in your life.
Yep.
And lo and behold, that crashed the birth rate. So anyway, if you want to counter that message in whatever way we can, feedthebadger.com/support. It's up to you guys. Otherwise, the individuals who don't seem to make the connection between men feeling rejected and all of the things rejecting them will be the only ones with a platform or a say. All right, let's keep. Oh, and also, if you want to send us a message, feedthebadger.com/justthetip, so we know we're not screaming into the void.
Yeah.
Somebody out there appreciates us.
Yeah.
So it's always wonderful to hear your messages or see your messages, read your messages, and know that you appreciate us. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right, let's keep going.
All right, let's keep going.
Keep on keeping on.
Sometimes you just gotta shoot your shot. No, rejection isn't fun, but it's also ultimately not the end of the world. And I feel like a fear of rejection is stopping so many men from approaching women because men and women no longer hang out together as frequently as they used to. I mean,
go ahead.
What? Well, okay, men and women don't hang out together as frequently as they used to. Maybe that's why men aren't approaching women in public?
Well, it goes back to that whole circle of friends thing where, the pre-vetting happens, right? And you're introduced to somebody based on, the friends network, right? And people just don't spend as much time physically, around each other, right? As they used to. I mean, when I was in high school, we were constantly going out places and doing stuff with groups of people, right? And those are great opportunities to find somebody that you might want to spend time with, that you might want to date. That kind of thing doesn't happen so much anymore. People actually just kind of are stuck on their screens. They're not even when they're in the same physical space with each other, they're distracted by their electronic equipment. And yeah, women have largely kind of gone into an enclave of just women, just same-sex interactions, same-sex friends, and and then the workplace where you might think that it would be a good place to meet someone you might want to partner with. That's off limits now. It's like, no, you can't touch that shit. It's radioactive poop.
And this enclave of women, like as these women become more cliquish and enclavey, their rates of mental illness are skyrocketing. Rates of domestic violence, because they're dating each other, are skyrocketing, and sexual assault are skyrocketing. So it's turning into a little cesspit of toxicity, to be honest, and they're miserable. Yep. Who knew that women need men? You need men. And you need
and maybe men should have, like, maybe they learn to be social by socializing with other men before they socialize with women. I mean, maybe
men socializing with other men is like, that's actually toxic.
Yeah, it's dangerous because they're plotting to do terrible things to women, right?
These enclaves of women, like, it's not like before, where you had the purple hat society women or the quilting or whatever else. These enclaves of women, they're utterly toxic. They're toxic towards each other, especially like the radical lesbian separatists. They're unbelievably violent to each other. It's very culty, from what I can see.
Oh yeah.
And like, I'm not saying that men together is toxic. Like, and I'm not saying that women together is toxic. I'm saying women together in this social atmosphere becomes toxic really rapidly. And men getting together in this social atmosphere is almost as rare as hen's teeth.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just look at it. It's like, well, men aren't allowed to get together, and back in the day, right? You'd have a family gathering, a barbecue, whatever, and the men would be flipping the steaks and the burgers and the hot dogs and stuff, and the women would be making the salad and the potatoes and the corn on the cob and all of that stuff, right? And you'd have everybody just kind of naturally would gravitate towards the same sex group. And now it's like, you don't have family barbecues anymore. It's very bizarre. And I mean, I'm kind of the last holdover, or my generation is the last of the holdovers from how things used to work when you actually knew your neighbors by name. And you might arrange a block party You definitely knew you could knock on anybody's door. When I was a kid, I could knock on anybody's door on the street and ask for help if I needed it. So it's like you're kind of looking at this complete disintegration of the fabric of society, even outside of the relationship between men and women. Yeah. Right? Like I don't know whether the old Greek man living next door to me, like I don't know what his health is like. I know that the Cambodian on the other side of me, he owns the tree that I'm worried is going to fall on my final last car. But like I think when suburbia kind of changed things and everybody thought it was a change for the better, right? But that was only for as long as women were mostly in the home. Mm-hmm. And the moment
women in the home, like this is the thing, everybody's all women in the home. It's also women in their community circles.
Yeah.
Women keeping these connections alive.
Yeah, but without women there in the neighborhood, right? And looking at community as their job, you end up with no community, and it's like things have really, really, really changed, right? We're in a situation now where when you go up in an elevator, to your apartment, you don't speak to the person who's going up to their floor, who's in the elevator with you. You don't know who else lives in your building, right? It's not just a man-woman thing. It's not just a coupling thing. It's an entire social fabric thing that's disintegrating.
We get into a situation where women are not used to even people platonically approaching them in public, and men are not used to talking to people platonically in public, and then you just heap more opprobrium on men for doing something that nobody is prepared anymore to do. Like this is the thing. This is cope. This is our society coping. It's like, we've fucked up every human connection. How are men to blame for this?
Yeah.
No. You can't keep blaming men and forgetting about facing your problems. You're going to find that it doesn't matter how much you blame men. Men can't lift all of society, and if they could, they wouldn't lift this one. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Are we getting close to being finished?
No, we're not. We're not.
Well, I know we're not gonna finish Lauren's video.
No, we're not. But we can. Go ahead. Do you have to go? Do you have to go soon, Karen?
Well, I have to go soon because I have to feed dogs, and I also have a man who needs food.
Okay.
So soon.
Yeah, well, let's get a little bit further in.
All right, let's get a little further in because I'm also getting really hungry, and we're gonna be watching. What is it called? Convicting a Murderer. It's like the Candace Owens' sequel to Making a Murderer that was on Netflix a couple of years ago. It's pretty good.
Oh.
So yeah. Okay, let's continue.
I mean, think about it. Due to things like COVID and just remote learning, even aside from that becoming more and more popular, I feel like those who are between the ages of 18 to 25 have way less experience socializing with the opposite sex in just a casual environment like high school or college classes than people who are my age. And on top of that, due to things like remote work, once those people graduate, they're also still less likely to interact with the opposite sex on a daily basis.
All right, well, can I just... Men can't approach women at work. Men can't approach women in school. Men can't approach women in public. Like, you're saying they're not approaching, but don't you see the climate? It doesn't matter what men feel. Like, you can talk about what men feel about it, but the truth is, just like Allison said, the problem is that we've created a climate where it's completely, like, arbitrarily hostile towards men, and women are encouraged to consider men a threat at all times. it goes back to
undesirable if they don't consider them a threat.
Well, if they're not desirable, then they are a threat. So, like, if they are desirable, then they can get away with whatever, probably. But it doesn't guarantee anything. So I'm not even saying, be handsome, because that doesn't work either, even if you could, wish for it from a genie or something. So it's just ultimately, Lauren's got a blind spot. She thinks, men should be stepping up. Again, that you have to, pay attention. This kind of reminds me, I just want to say this really quick. Lauren Southern was on Twitter a while back, and there were a few other people, I think Brittany Venti and some others, where they were talking about how, men should stop watching or the whatever podcast or the Fresh and Fit stuff or whatever, because, they were convinced that those women are not the average woman, that they're exceptionally awful women or whatever. But I don't think that's true. I think that it's like Allison said, I think it's cope. Because the one thing that everybody seems allergic to doing is saying, "Hey, ladies, change your standards. Let's do what's right for society and not just what you want." You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, like that, and that's the thing. Like, they constantly talk about companionship. Well, what are you expecting? The thing is that women have not changed their expectation of men earning enough so they don't have to work.
Nope.
That's still in place. Like, nothing has changed since the 1800s. Nothing has changed about women's standards. They still want a man who can take care of them completely, that there can be completely financially dependent on. The only difference now is there are much fewer men who fit the bill for them.
Yeah.
That's it. So why don't you do the work to work on your standard?
Yeah, no, and I, I get, these are morally neutral concepts. Like, hypergamy is a morally neutral concept. Of course, a woman would want a man who can sort of keep things at the same level while she's laid up having babies. Okay, when she's not productive enough to support even herself, let alone herself and her husband and the kids, right? Like, it's a morally neutral preference. Okay, so but at that point, if you're gonna say, well, this is morally neutral and it makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint and all of that, right? What you have to do is stop artificially propping up women. Stop artificially.
Something's got to give.
Giving them a boost in a competitive game on the only field where men are allowed to play. Right? Like, literally, you're basically saying, well, men have to be X, Y, and Z. Women can be X, Y, and Z, and we want them to be X, Y, and Z so that they won't need the X, Y, and Z provided by men, even though they might want it, and even though it might be necessary, right? Okay, so let's actually help women cheat. Well, let's put them on performance-enhancing X, Y, and Z drugs. Okay, and we'll promote them, and we'll preferentially treat them, and we'll give them all this extra stuff to help them price themselves out of the freaking dating pool. And then when they're looking around and they want to have babies and they want a man who can take up the slack, not just for them, but for the extra mouths to feed of 2 or 3 kids or whatever, right? Okay. They want somebody who can handle that while they're taking their time off of being economically productive, right? Okay, how are they going to find that? Because all of the women got promoted and all of the men got passed over.
Yeah, it's just like when I'm watching these individuals talk about this, they seem to be utterly unwilling to recognize that our society has engaged in a war on pair bonding for generations now.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's a deliberate war. I can't tell you that. But it is a war. our society has said, you know what, that pair bonding, maybe like I'm putting intent there, but that's just like it's just me being cute as a storyteller. That pair bonding, we sure want to get rid of that. How can we destroy it? And then after society has done basically everything it can to destroy pair bonding, it turns around and blames men.
Yeah.
That's not going to get us anywhere.
No, that's the infuriating thing, right? And when you look at socioeconomic brackets, right? And this is the hilarious thing, right? Because the feminists were like, well, if men and women were truly equal, right? As women are able to pull themselves up the socioeconomic ladder, right? They'll be more likely to marry a man of hypergamy will just go away, right? And they'll be more likely to marry someone who is not wealthier and not higher status than them, because the only reason why women were doing that, right, is because they were forced to, because they were kept at home and they weren't allowed to work and they weren't allowed to pursue careers and all of this stuff. So if we just let women do this, then people will fall in love for love's sake, not for money, not for status, not for all of that stuff, right? But when you actually get down to the socioeconomic brackets, you find that low socioeconomic status women, low status women are more likely to pair bond down than high status women, right? The higher up a woman goes on that ladder, the less likely she is to actually pair with somebody who's of lower status than her, right? That is just the way it is, because this isn't about a cold socioeconomic calculation on the part of women or them being forced into anything. It's a preference in their head. And if she has enough money to raise a child, a sperm donor baby, all on her own, she's going to be pickier, not less picky.
Okay, and I think we were on a podcast. I guess I'm not exactly sure how it works.
Oh, I want to hear about that.
Yeah.
Was it hostile?
No, it wasn't hostile.
Oh, okay, cool.
No, it was okay. So I think that it's going out on one of Pearl's channels, but Pearl wasn't on it. It was a producer of Pearl's who hosted it, I believe, and there were a couple guys, I guess, who were life coaches, perhaps. I would say life coach, dating coach kind of thing. And then there was also Terrence Pop and Chandler from Twitter. I don't know. I've talked to her. She's a young legal student who's interested in men's issues, and it was a good conversation. There was no real hostility. I think we were all basically on the same wavelength. I may have gotten into it a bit with one of the dating coaches. But one of the things that Chandler said is that she says this woman who's like a high-powered executive, and she says I am a high-value woman, and when she was asked, she listed all of her credentials in work, and people were and Chandler pointed out and said, well, she's listing everything that she desires in a man, and I was listening to this and I was thinking, but what she's actually listing is her minimum requirements, if you think about it. When these women go and get these jobs and get these incomes, what they're doing in a sense is they are building themselves into a position of demanding more. So any man who comes around, it's almost like the guy has to match her trousseau, I think is
it is part of the trousseau. Yeah.
So what she's essentially doing is she's putting all of this work into building a trousseau to get a man who's better than that. And of course, the same process, she's pricing herself out of the market. And it's like this. It's the more things change, huh? Like this is exactly the same thing that Southern Belles did, except the way that they competed was different. Or the same thing that women in more traditional cultures do to get a trousseau. But this, the way that they compete is different. She is building a minimum standard for any man who can be her partner. And it's crazy because nothing changed. And until we look at that and actually address it and be honest about it, we're screwed, because the society doesn't exist if it can't manage this basic function, which is pair bonding, family formation, or at least getting people invested through some kind of relationship to the greater society, you know? And we got nothing. We're dead men walking. We're dead society walking.
Yeah, no, the gentleman who was on the Pearly podcast with me and Paul and Chandler and others. Can you guys stop?
They're really vociferous tonight.
Yeah, well, there's somebody walking by, but yeah, no, like he's like we're actually heading towards a demographic collapse, and I would recommend viewing Demographic Winter. I think you can probably watch it on YouTube. Basically, we used to be like a pyramid, like at Giza, right? With the elderly at the top, at the point, right? And all of the productive people, kind of, and the children, lots of children at the bottom, and then in the middle, there was this big block of economically productive people. And that central block, they were sandwiched in between the elderly who need caring for and the children who need caring for, right? As long as we're not replacing ourselves, right? Like, and this is the thing, like, old people are living longer than ever, and so they need care for longer than ever, right? Retirement age is still 65 when you can start collecting your old age pension and all of that. So it literally is this sandwich generation, right? Well, our kids are going to be the sandwich generation, and there's not going to be as many of them as there were when my generation was born, right? That's just the way it is. So you're looking at the people who are economically productive, the people who are, and let's not say economically productive, let's say resource productive, producing the resources that everybody needs, right? Because this isn't about money, it's about electricity and food and transportation and heavy lifting and, building things and fixing things and all of those things. Right.
Yeah, one Rodney the plumber is worth 1,000 Christian Greys. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's like, but we are not replacing ourselves. And so what we're doing, and I brought this up in the Pearly podcast, is like women want to have their doctorate, they want to have their MD, right? So they can frame it and put it on a wall, and then take 6 years off to have babies, right? And then come back part-time, and then we wonder why we have a doctor shortage. Right? And it takes 2 weeks to get an appointment. So then what do? We poach doctors, the taxpayers in Nigeria and South Africa and the Philippines and other places like that, right? And Vietnam and all of those places. Taxpayers in those places invested money in training doctors there, right? Well, we just invite them to come over here, and we'll pay them more, and they can send a little money back home, but we separate them from their families, right? So their kids are growing up without dads. And yeah, there's money being sent home, but there's no doctoring going on. And these are already places that have less access to healthcare than we do, right? So why are we doing this? This is a fool's bargain. This is stupidity on a massive scale. Totally predictable. If it costs $250,000 to train a doctor, okay, of taxpayer money. This does not include tuition, taxpayer money. Okay? If it costs that much to train a doctor, I want 35 plus years of full-time doctoring out of that person.
Yeah.
I don't want none of this, so I'm going to go on maternity leave for 10 years, and then maybe I'll go back to the office, just only during office hours, part-time. Yeah, no, you can go fuck yourself, bitch. right? And then don't go and complain about how healthcare in the developing world is so difficult, because people don't have access. Yeah, because you're stealing all of their fucking doctors.
Okay. So anyway, the upshot of this is that a civilization is a dead civilization walking if it can't attend to this stuff, and unfortunately, you can't just keep blaming men.
You really can't. You really can't.
It's not working.
Okay, I'm gonna go because my dogs are about.
Okay.
Let's call it a day.
All right, we can call it here. That's cool. Hey, can I show you guys something that I've been working on? I've been showing it to the audience the whole time. But since we're about to leave, I want to show you. I want to share. Let me share my OBS so you guys can see this. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I had to figure this all out on my own, and I did.
I see it.
Can you see it?
I can't.
Join the thing. You got to join the thing, Allison.
Oh yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Wow. Badger Chen is stacked.
She is. No, she's just animated.
She's very cute.
She's stacked. She's a
busty. Yeah. Oh, is she very buxom?
She's she's supposed to be.
She's not. She's not.
She's not. Not much.
She's not that much bigger than me.
No.
If I was wearing a push-up bra, I might look kind of like that. But...
Oh wait, those are too many. Let me turn off all that. They multiply. They multiply. I'm sorry. So that I got. There's some more stuff to figure out, but
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cute.
Yeah, it is pretty cute. I love her sharp teeth. Perfect
that's like my favorite thing about it is that I can do the shark teeth.
Oh no, it looks like the badger has a mustache.
The tools are hard to use, but it'll improve over time. I will perfect it. I also made a Vivian James, but it was on the stream, but it would take me too long to set up right now. I just wanted to show that. So yes, the badger's hands multiply. That's the feed. So if you guys do a final shill, you could feed her.
Yeah. So please help us out. Feedthebadger.com/support. So we can bring some more positivity into the world. I know that this sounds really negative, but the first thing you have to do to solve a problem is actually recognize what the problem is and what won't solve it, which is usually what you've been doing this entire time. Well, I mean, let's face it, our favorite activity as a people is blaming men.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even get where people are like, oh, we blame women. I'm like, really? Where and when?
Yeah.
Because the only time I hear about blaming women is when I do it. And when people say, well, or use the potential theoretical particle known as blame women, which is some kind of weird mental dark matter that no one's actually ever identified, exists somewhere, and therefore we're justified in not blaming them. See what I'm saying? Like the only time this thing exists is when it's used to justify not blaming women.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, I'll get off my podium. So,
all right.
If you want to help us out, feedthebadger.com/support. If you want to just send us a message and tell us we're not screaming into the void, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And back to you, Brian.
All right, so if you guys, I know. I'm hoping, I don't know, like I want to get like a voice mod so she doesn't sound like Dr. Girlfriend when I talk.
Yeah, Dr. Girlfriend, or Bob's Burgers wife, Linda.
Oh, Linda? Yeah, I've never watched that show. Does she sound like that?
That's a good thing. Like you should go even lower. Like try to get that burr in your voice.
Support us. Support us by going to feedthebadger.com. Yeah. Anyway, if you guys like, what was that?
I said that's perfect.
Oh.
Do it again.
All right.
It is pretty good.
If you like this video, please smash like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about what we talked about on the show today. And please, please, please share this video, because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the Rantzerker, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude.
Okay, I'm
they
outta
are
here. This
literal
dog is going
machines.
nuts.
They are
She's just
talking
been
point
squeaking and
machines. They
squeaking.
are
All right.
impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like, a couple
do you
dudes
have
who have
time on
good memory
Sunday,
on top of
Brian?
that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.
And Monday's next was when we'll finish this up, okay, Karen? I mentioned that.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Well, I mean, it just depends on, like, we can set it for as long as you're able to do on Sunday, basically, if you